Right, so let's go ahead and create a new project right from the get-go. I'm going to call this croc attack, and put this in my D drive, and let's see, well, I'll leave them as they are, doesn't matter. Okay, click accept and then save that. Okay, in hip, and then find that project, and let's give it the same name, croc tech version 1.hip. Good to go. Now I'm just going to get rid of this origin gnome one in the middle. It's a bit distracting. So what I want to do for the first lesson here is just a very quick overview of some of the possibilities with Vellum. Okay, so I'm just going to drop a geo here. I'm just going to throw together some random kind of bits and bobs with Vellum. Okay, so let's call this Vellum intro. Jump inside. Okay, I'm just going to drop a grid right off the get-go. Okay, and then typically Vellum likes to work with triangles. You know, well, you just kind of get better folds and things with triangles. So I'm going to drop a remesh to give me some nice triangles and, you know, something that's less uniform. In the, you know, it's not kind of all the same, so we get something a bit more interesting. And then, so literally 2 nodes there, and then a Vellum configure cloth. Okay, if you haven't used this workflow before, I think the RBD workflow is kind of similar. It can look a bit weird if you haven't done it before. I think the excuse me, RBD, I don't know. Yeah, see, they use the same kind of 3 input 3 outputs system. So basically on the left you've got your geometry, the you know, whatever you're trying to simulate. In the middle, these pink parts are the constraints, and then on the right will be your collision object, which you can see if you hover over the top. Okay, now the geometry will be polygons or grains, okay, which will be points. And then the constraints will be primitive lines. Okay, so you can see here that's what we're generating here. So if we come here, I think we can visualize actually just, yeah, if you go to the information box here, and we can hit constraint geometry, and then we're looking at the information for the constraint geometry here. So you can see we're generating 17,000 primitives. And we've got some attributes on them. We've got compression stiffness, stiffness, which will be bend stiffness, I think, type. So let's take a closer look at them. If we come up into the geometry spreadsheet, you can see we got, yeah, all these different attributes. We got a mass, which is varying between them all. We've got a p-scale, which is basically the thickness of our fabric, and then. So that's on the actual geometry, this part, okay? And on the primitives of the constraint geometry, you can see we got, yeah, so anything related to the constraints, right? So compression stiffness, we got a rest length, bend stiffness again, we got a type, we got 2 types here, we got distance and bend as well, okay? So distance is trying to stop the polygons from collapsing in on themselves, and then bend will try to stop them bending in this direction. Okay, we drop a null, we can take a closer look at them. So they're just the constraints, and they're just primitives, right? You could build these, you don't have to use these nodes, although they're very convenient. You can just build them up with any typical Houdini SOP tools, and as long as they've got all the correct attributes on there, they'll work fine. Okay, so let's drop a Vellum solver. Vellum solver. Oh, not struts. Try again. Vellum solver. Connect that up. Okay, and give it something to collide with as well. Let's just drop a torus. Connect that up to the right input that will filter through into our solver. Okay, so this is just kind of a packed up HDA. So if you jump inside here, you can connect up forces as kind of a shortcut. You can see we've gone right inside into the DOP network, but inside we've just got a DOP network, and it's all kind of packed up with all these handy, easy tools for you. So then if we just drop down this torus a little bit, okay, and then let's see how that works. We just hit play. So it looks okay. We've got, this is colliding, but then right away we can see here at the side we've got these things which look like they've been glued, okay, which we didn't choose to do that. So if we look at this triangle now closely, when I go back, you can see the triangle disappears, right? And then if I hit point view, you can see there's a point there, so there's a primitive folded in there, and that's because of this remesh hasn't been able to configure this correctly, right? So what's happening here, if we take a look at this vellum cloth, at the top the mass is calculating varying based on the area of the polygon, and this polygon has basically no area, so its density is 0, okay? And when the density is 0, it can't move, okay? That's how we set up pins. When you try to hold up something straight, it just gives it 0 mass. Okay, so it's yeah, whenever you see weird stuff like this, then be careful of things like that. All right, so a couple of ways to resolve that. The way I wouldn't normally do it would be, you could set this to uniform, and now everything will have a mass of 0.1. So let's watch that, get off this point view, and then hopefully, yeah, the whole thing should fall. Okay, or if I set this back to calculate varying, which is better for, kind of take care of your geometry, and if you change the quantity of polygons, it won't matter too much. Another thing you can do is on the remesh, just turn up the iterations. I just push it all the way up to 10 because it doesn't take long, and that should give us some cleaner geometry, and there it works fine. Okay, what else can we do? We could look at well, as I said, pinning. So if you wanted to stop any parts of the geometry from moving, you can quickly just make a selection in the viewport like this, just enter, and now those points will have a mass of 0 and won't move. Okay, we could let me get rid of that. Let's add in some other geometry with this. Let's see, let's drop the rubber toy. Okay, if I just visualize that, we could do something different with this. As it's 3-dimensional, we could, I'll just move it up 1. Let's give this a group. Call it toy, to toy, and make sure we have a group over here as well. Call this cloth. Okay, and then I can select cloth here so that we're only, I don't want to generate cloth on here as well. Well, I do, but in a different way. Okay, and then I'm gonna type, let's see, vellum let's do something different. We could configure strut soft body. Let's do that. So I'll just connect it directly to the toy for now, but I will put it in line here in a moment, just so we can see. So we got two things going on here. We got a cloth, just like before, just doing the same thing. That's giving us the distance constraints, which we can set which are here, the stretch constraints, which are distance constraints, and bend constraints, two different constraints there. And then also here we're looking at struts. So if I take a null to just look at the constraints, you can see if I get rid of the cloth constraints, you can see we've got these kind of lines, these struts jumping across, which will stop the object from collapsing in on itself. It kind of simulates a soft body. Okay, now if I set both of these to toy, this one and, oh, not pin, the group to toy. Okay, and then I can drop these in here, keep a nice clean workflow, and then that should all work together. Let's see, get rid of this template. And you can see that kind of bouncing there. We need some more sub-steps just to improve this collision. We're not too worried about that right now. So you can see that's kind of holding its shape a little bit there. Cool, right? And then let's see what else. We could add some lines to this, some kind of strings. So if I just drop a line, let's template the cloth, look at the line, let's make it a bit longer, 3, and give it some more points, 10 or 20. And where shall I place it? Maybe let's do that. Let's do, no, I'll just have the 1. Okay, group that just to give it a name. Oops. Line, merge that in with the rest of my geometry. I'm doing all this to demonstrate that it, you know, the versatility of Vellum. You know, we're doing all this together in one. There's only one solver here, which would be problematic in the past. You know, trying to mix different solvers together. But here we're just using one. And then let's see. We're going to use again Vellum configure. Well, let's just drop a Vellum constraint. All of these really are the same. They're just changing the constraint type option at the top here. Okay, so here I want string, which is here, and then I'm going to find my group, not toy but line. If I just changed one that I already had, yeah, my bad. I'm going to go back. Don't want that on string, I want that on cloth for my toy. Here, change this one to string, change that, find the line here. Cool, and let's also do another Vellum constraint. And let's do a glue. We can use glue to attach 2 different Vellum objects together. Okay, you can see it's even doing that just already because I don't have any groups. But it can also be specific and connect the cloth to the line in case these are closer together. Let's watch that. Oh, and also what I want to do with my line is pin the top point. Obviously, you could make that more procedural with a group or something. Cool. And one more thing. Let's animate this line. So if I excuse me, animate this line here. Okay, let's just drop a keyframe on the first, and then move to 1 second. I don't know, to 10 units away. It's not very far. Okay, and then when we come to this point here, so this is pinned, and you can see we got pinned to animation. If I check match animation, then that will move. Only this point will move. The rest will be simulated with the animation. I'm just going to give me a few more sub steps. You can see so that the top point is following the original animation up there, but the rest is being simulated. These are being held together. This cloth getting pulled away, which is reacting with the soft body. All these different types of constraints working together and without too much trouble, you know. And in here we haven't spoken about, let's see if we come to the Vellum, where are you? yeah, tool. You can see tetrahedrals, which we're going to be using. We haven't spoken about that yet, which is another way of doing soft bodies. Grains we haven't spoken about either. We haven't, well, the string hair is basically a string, you know. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the versatility of vellum there. Okay, so we'll keep that just to one side, so you've got some basic stuff held together, and next we'll move on to our project.